everybody? Happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Bueller. Normally my podcasting partner, Seth, would be out here with us. But he's having a little bit of technical issues, so he may be joining us a little bit later, but that is okay. But of course, you guys know that the Fanatic Forum is the home for geeks, the place for all things geek. Everybody is welcome here. So I especially want to wish all of our LGBTQ plus family members and friends and other viewers and whatnot a very happy Pride Month. So yeah, I mean, of course, you guys are just as welcome as everybody else is. So very much happy Pride Month to you guys here. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good one out there so far. A good week. It's a little bit dreary here in E-Town. The rain is falling, but then again, so is the pollen as well, because there's like all these buds and everything on all the trees. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, nothing too, nothing severe or anything like that. But anyway, a lovely day out there. If you like rainy ones. So our topic du jour this evening is basically a celebration of the films of Albert Pyun. Let me get the graphic up here. Yes. Celebration of films by director Albert Pyun. Basically, Albert was definitely one of the premier B-movie directors, especially of the 1980s and the 90s. His first movie, you guys may know best, Sword and the Sorcerer. He also directed Cyborg, Nemesis, Doll Man. He did the 1990 Captain America movie. Numerous other action films, sci-fi films. He loved working in kind of like post-apocalyptic kind of things, or maybe a little bit of like a little bit of cyberpunk kind of stuff, maybe some cyborgs or people with enhancements and things like that. But he loved basically kind of action martial arts hybrid stuff like that. So that was really kind of his his claim to fame and stuff he did best. Occasionally did a couple of comedies, did a couple of straight up action films. Of course, Sword and the Sorcerer was his first film, which is a fantasy film, and then basically almost 25 years later, followed up with the sequel "Tales of an Ancient Empire," starring Kevin Sorbo. That one went straight to video, so I've never actually bothered to see that one. I will admit, I'm not the biggest Kevin Sorbo fan. Hopefully that won't offend anybody that's a big Hercules fan or whatever else. But yeah, never really got into Hercules back in the 90s, so I basically just really kind of stayed away from a lot of stuff he's done anyway. Anywho, but no, back to Albert though. Albert sometimes was credited as like being a modern day Ed Wood, because he used a lot of the same people, or he would use actors that maybe Hollywood had kind of started casting off, but he still had some use for them. And of course, these were still very viable actors as well. So he had kind of a little a nice group of people he would always kind of pick from, and of course very low budget was what he would do with. But he was always the one thing I always appreciate about Albert's work is he really found a way to tell a good story and to make an enjoyable film, even if he had a small budget. Despite whatever size it was, he just really had a talent for that kind of stuff. And that's kind of I don't really necessarily agree with the Ed Wood comparisons, just because I think Albert actually had some talent. And saying nothing against the charm of an Ed Wood movie, it's obvious that Ed probably could have used a little bit of teaching, a little bit of tutelage, and whatnot. But then maybe his technique would have been a little bit better. I mean, I have nothing against any of the films he did, but yeah, obviously the filmmaking technique. There you go. See, we're getting off on tangents and no one else is here with me. Isn't that great? We're going to be talking a lot about Albert's movies here. Kind of some of my favorites, some that are kind of worth checking out, and whatever else here. So, and of course, like I said, if Seth happens to come back with us, then they'll be awesome. Anyway, I do have some comic book reviews for you guys this evening, and also some fun news when it comes to streaming stuff and movies and whatever else. If you guys aren't aware, just dropped on Hulu today, but the Predator animated film Killer of Killers is currently streaming. I have not got to watch it yet. I think I'm going to probably do it this evening after I get done with the show here. It looks like it's awesome. The animation, the trailer looked really cool for it. So far, very, 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 very positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I think we're like at 95% rotten. So yeah, basically sounds like it's a winner. Of course, Ballerina also is in theaters this weekend, the spinoff from John Wick. I'm looking forward to checking that out. I still haven't seen Mission Impossible from last weekend, so I've got 2 movies got to catch up on. Also, speaking of movies, if you guys did not get to catch Sinners in theaters, I believe it's still playing in some theaters. It hasn't completely gone out just yet, but it just dropped exclusively on Apple to rent or buy. I don't think it's available anywhere else. I think it's just Apple. So Apple users or Apple streamers, whatnot, basically you can check out Sinners if you did not get to see it in theaters. Highest recommendation. If you've not seen this movie, definitely got to check this one out. Okay, on to our comic book reviews here. And DC heavy this week here. So let's start with DC. I've only got one Marvel and one Indie to talk about, but very DC heavy here. And forgive me, I've been, since last Saturday, been kind of fighting off a cold, so got a head full of stuff. So forgive me if I cough or choke over here too much here. I'm trying not to. Anyway, from the Absolute runs, of course, you guys know I've been big fans of this stuff here. And nonetheless, we keep going with the fandom here. Green Lantern #3. This is the A cover here. This one is it Julie Deneka? Oh, I'm sorry, that's Joy Lindsay. Sorry, that's Joy Lindsay. Does the art in that one. So I'm still loving this series. It is very much a horror story using the Green Lantern mythology. We've seen familiar Lantern characters, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner. Of course, we got Joe Mullen, who's one of the more recent Lanterns, is kind of one of the lead characters in this one. So we've seen a lot of familiar faces in here, but taking a really different twist with the whole thing. But in this issue here, some very familiar Lantern mythology kind of comes back here. So what I like about the Absolute Universe stuff is it either completely twists some of the famous mythology of some of our DC heroes, what the symbol for Superman's S on his chest means, or that Batman doesn't use guns, or this all these little things like that have been staples in the standard DC universe. Don't necessarily mean that in the Absolute Universe. There's always changes to be made. Everything's kind of a wild card, but there's one in particular thing that still kind of holds true in the Green Lantern universe here. Our next one here is issue 8 of Absolute Superman. This issue finally, I've been waiting for this book to really kind of take off, to kind of hit a point like, okay, here we go. We're ready to boogie now. And I think this is finally the issue here, just because we get a lot of good action in here. But even though we're very different versions of Jimmy Olsen, Superman, and Lois Lane, our trio are finally united in this series here. Kind of seem to be all on the same page, perhaps. Just really good. This is Jason Aaron has been doing the writing on this one here. And again, talking about rewriting mythology here. Also, this issue, we kind of get to meet our true big bad villain. Like, we've seen a different take on the Peacemaker character by basically making him an army and not just one person. We've seen a whole new take a couple issues ago on Brainiac, which, as I said, was horrifying and awesome all at the same time. But now we are seeing our guy behind the guy here. Batman fans, the Demon's Head has erupted in Metropolis. Yeah, so very interesting. Kind of a conflict we've never seen before. We see, Ra's al Ghul has tangled with Batman numerous times, Green Arrow, even on the TV show and the comics, numerous other characters, but never Superman before. So this is going to be an interesting one. Of course, it's a very different Ra's al Ghul, kind of, sort of, but still, yeah. And our last for DC here, and of course, this is probably a no-brainer here, but the first issue of the second volume for Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, released this week, and it did not disappoint. Such a fun book. This literally takes right off on the heels of the last volume here. Doesn't seem like a lot of time has passed. It's very recent events. And starting off where Amanda Waller is activating the Suicide Squad with a couple extra new members, one of them being Lex Luthor because of basically events in the previous volume. He was a naughty boy, and he gets slapped by the rest, and therefore he's going to be part of Task Force X. So, anywho, But a great ending. This is more of a setup issue, so we get a little bit of action going on, but not as much kaiju stuff as you would think, and kind of like in the first issue we had. But we still get a great mic drop ending, very similar to issue 1 in volume 1, where we got a really good mic drop ending where Godzilla blasting the bejeebus out of Superman with his radioactive breath. And there you go. So, yeah, old Supes was down for the count for most of volume 1. So, yeah, very interested to see how this is going to play out here. But, yeah, really enjoyed that one. So, a lot of fun, good start to that. Over at Marvel, my one pick for the week here, because it's a little bit lighter week for Marvel, at least for me it was. But I was very intrigued by this series here because I'm always intrigued by anything Jonathan Hickman does. And of course, we got Federico Vincenti doing the main artwork. This is Imperial #1. This is going back with the Marvel Cosmic stuff here. As you see, Nova is a big part of this. Also, the Hulks are a huge part of this. And I'm talking about Bruce Banner, there's Jennifer, She-Hulk, and Amadeus Cho as well, which is great because we haven't really seen Amadeus do much of anything in a while. So nice that he's involved in this. This is a little bit different take on the Hulk because the Hulk in this one is not similar, is a little more kind of the smart Hulk, a little more aware of what's going on, a little more kind of, not so much of a cerebral kind of character that we see in the current volumes or the last couple of volumes of Hulk. Actually, to the point where when Hulk arrives on Nouveau Scar, where basically he has to attend the funeral for his son, Scar. That's what really kicks us off this whole issue here. And yeah, when he shows up on Nouveau Scar, he is in the World Breaker armor. So he is making a statement about who's shown up here. So yeah, very interested to see where this goes here. But basically, we are dealing with a cosmic murder mystery because apparently a lot of heads of state, planetary leaders, whatever else, are all being murdered. And it's being used the same poison, kind of like a dual action poison, sort of like a very adaptive whatever else. And so obviously the Skrulls are blamed for this, but we'll see where this all takes off from here. But yeah, nice return to the Marvel Cosmic, which I always appreciate that sort of stuff here. So yeah, good to see it. Good to see it. I love it. Oh, we got some comments in here. V, good to see you, sir. Oh, pleasure to see you. Yeah, I'm solo this evening because Seth is having some computer issues. So hopefully he will be able to join us a little bit later on here. But yeah, right now I'm flying solo for the moment. But hope you are doing well, sir. Good to see you. Thinking with things over here, trying to get distracted here. And Martin, good to see you. Better late than never. All right. So ready for the best show of the week. Oh, Albert Pyun. Oh, come on. Yes. We got you. You will be educated very shortly. All right. And then lastly, for our final pick here, of course, my one indie book here, definitely had to get this one in here this week. Mark Spear's Monsters #4. This has been such a fun series. Mark's artwork is fantastic. If you like the cover art, you will love what's on the inside. But it's very much a different take on the Universal monsters. The overall plot is that there is this castle that contains all the evil in all the universe that sits kind of at the edge of everything. And every 1,000 or so years, its minions try to break it free. And so it's apparently that time again in the modern age. So you basically have Dracula and several other minions, familiar monster characters, all sort of working in conjunction, or sometimes they're working with each other on a tenuous basis. Maybe they don't get along, maybe they have to for a certain reason, whatever else. Everybody's kind of got their reasons. But yeah, it's been a fun series here, but it's been a lot of setup for the past couple of issues here. But this issue really starts getting things taken off. A lot of cool action in here. As you can see, we got some werewolf action here with our Slayer character. So yeah, a lot of fun. Cannot recommend this book enough. I mean, Mark's art again is tremendous, and from what I hear, is a good dude as well. Very good to his fans. So yeah, I'm looking very forward to checking more of that out. So all right, I guess since Seth is not in yet. Oh yeah, basically the Mark's done some art for Spawn Gunslinger, but yeah, no, the the old school Slayer character, yeah, love that with the old pilgrim hat and lots of stakes and silver bullet loaded guns. Yeah, he's cool. Oh no, you said you lost your internet with due to hurricane. Yikes! I'm glad you're okay, man. Those hurricanes are no joke. All right. Well, as I was, of course, I was saying at the top of the show, we're talking about the new Killer of Killers for Predator has dropped on Hulu. So I'm very forward to checking that out. Cannot wait for it. So actually, like I said, I'm probably going to watch that tonight. So looking forward to it. Anywho, let's get to our topic of the evening here. So we're doing a celebration of films by director Albert Pyun. And of course, like I said at the top of the show, Albert was one of the preeminent B-movie directors of the 80s and 90s, best known for Sword and the Sorcerer, Cyborg, Nemesis, Doll Man, the 1990 Captain America, and a lot of other films that we're definitely going to get into here. But Albert definitely had a penchant for low budget, but was able to get a lot done with very little. So the comparison he's had to Ed Wood, I think, is a little unfair. Albert's got a little more technical know-how. He was born in '53, grew up in Hawaii. He's an Army brat, so moved around a lot. But I think they finally settled in Hawaii for a while. When it was time for him to go to film school, he, went for a couple of years, and then had an opportunity to almost work with Akira Tosawa on one of his last few films. It ended up not working out. He ended up working on a show that was a TV show that Kurosawa was producing, but wasn't involved with, but did get to actually learn under the guise of Taiko Saito, who was basically Kurosawa's director of photography for almost his entire career. So the man knew Kurosawa like the back of his hand, knew how to basically get his vision, his style, things like that. Of course, being very talented, DP as well. So that's who Albert got to learn under, which is very interesting. Because if you see, he's like I said, again, for a low budget director, he puts on a really good kind of overall setting for a scene. You kind of know what movie you're in. There's no confusion about anything. When Sword and the Sorcerer was his first movie. That is just a balls to the wall, fun fantasy film. A little bit of comedy in there, lots of blood, and yes, there's boobs as well. But yeah, just of course, the gimmick of the three-bladed sword. All kinds of fun stuff. Of course, it starred Lee Horsley, who previously was the star of the TV series Hotel. So a big jump from there. But yeah, so also Sword and the Sorcerer. Of course, this was released in 1982. Was his highest grossing film that Albert ever did here. But yeah, love that big poster there. And actually, Sword and the Sorcerer finally is on Blu-ray now. It took several years for this to happen. But finally is on Blu-ray. So I got it last year, I believe. So yeah, it's one of my favorite sword and sandal movies, the 80s, next to Conan and Beastmaster. So yeah, love that kind of stuff here. Martin says, as a role player, you had a phase where you consume any available fantasy movie. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I was like that. I've watched every terrible and an epic fantasy film you can imagine. Like I said, all the Beastmasters, all the Deathstalkers, Sorceress, Barbarians with the two twin guys. You're the Warrior from the Future, Hawk the Slayer. Yeah, the list goes on and on. So yeah, some of them are great. Some of them are kind of, they're a movie. Oh, and let's see. There you go. All titles you love there. Huge heart for the low budget flicks here. Cyborg, for example, created a hype back in Germany, even with Index. Okay. Yeah, so Albert's a legend there. Yeah, and interestingly enough, let's talk about Cyborg here for a sec. Released in 1989, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. This was literally his second film. Well, actually, no, about fourth film. But this was his second starring film. after Bloodsport before we got to Kickboxer, which I think was like literally the following year. Originally, this movie, Cyborg, was called Slinger. Slinger is essentially the job that Van Damme's character had, where we're in a post-apocalyptic universe. People are enhancing themselves with cybernetic implants, so basically people are half man, half machine. So there's some of that stuff going on, which is kind of an underlying theme to a lot of Albert's work. Basically, the Nemesis series, which is 4 or 5 films deep, I think. That deals a lot with basically, cyborgs and cyberpunk kind of, action drama, things like that. Just again, underlying themes of basically post-apocalyptic or dystopian future, things like that. Very popular with Albert. But anyway, so Slinger was the job that Van Damme's character has, where he is essentially helping people get out of the wastelands and get to a safer part of the world. And sometimes it goes great, sometimes it doesn't. There was a period of time where he was actually going to settle down. And the large gentleman you see here at the front of the screen with the menacing gang behind him, well, they had a little something to say about his retirement. And so now basically we kind of turn this into a revenge film. But still, lots of good action. This is peak Van Damme here. But if you could find, there actually is a director's cut of this movie called Slinger. So that's what the director's cut is actually called. I think it was released officially in Germany on Blu-ray. And it may be they may have a region-free version available, or I'm not sure you can find it online or not. But I've always wanted to see Slinger, but I've seen Cyborg numerous times. But yeah, it's been a long. I would love to actually see Slinger, so I need to actually look that up here. But because I'm pretty sure you can find it anywhere. Ashley Cruz, good to see you, sir. Adrenaline, Fear the Rush might be the worst movie you've ever seen. Yeah, I will wholeheartedly admit, definitely towards the end of Albert's career and Albert's basically Albert, he passed away in 2022, but he worked pretty much almost up until the end of his life. But yeah, his early stuff is a lot better than his later stuff. I will most definitely admit that one here. Anyway, let's see here. Another movie. This one is normally not covered as much as some of Albert's other movies, but definitely one that's worth a look. 1985's Radioactive Dreams. So this is basically two guys going to. It's almost kind of very much like a Blast from the Past, the Brendan Fraser movie, sort of, so to speak. But you got two guys who are obsessed with 1940s crime novels and whatever else. They go into a bomb shelter because basically they think they're being bomb scared, wherever else. They're down there, and then when they get out, basically they're in a post-apocalyptic world where it's very much like they're like the last kind of Philip Marlowe, Raymond Chandler kind of guys that are basically literally they're they see themselves as post-apocalyptic private eyes, solving the world's problems one bullet at a time, sort of thing like that. But yeah, it's a fun movie starring a very young Michael Dudikoff, which this came out the same year that American Ninja came out. So he was still very early in his career. But yeah, like I said, a really cool film. A lot. Of course, the poster's the best thing about the movie, but still, I like a lot of the setting for it. It was a really ambitious movie. I think it's almost I think maybe with a better budget, it could have been ahead of its time. Right? It was just one of those kinds of movies like they were trying to do something with this here. So very similar to Streets of Fire, the Walter Hill film, which I absolutely love that one. A very ambitious movie, but just didn't quite get there, didn't quite make it with the audience, but it's found its audience later on. Of course, I loved it back in the day, but there you go. They didn't ask me then. Martin says, one bullet at a time still holds up as a concept. Yes, it still works for many movies. Let's see. Our next one, definitely got to talk about this one because this one is okay. This is a black mark on the superhero franchise because basically you're still in the early, period before things got good. But this is the 1990 Captain America. Yeah. The suit looks great. The shield looks great. It's the story of Captain America. They don't futz with it too much. It's just told on a much smaller budget. I think was it Sterling Brown, I think? Or anyway, but the only other really big claim to the guy that played Captain America, the only other real big claim to fame he had was he was in Revenge of the Nerds. So I was like, well, that's kind of a good thing there. The Red Skull mask is the most unfortunate thing about this movie. It is it's just a cheap red rubber mask. Yeah. This was supposed to be released in theaters, but it never actually made it there, so it ended up being straight to DVD. Yeah, it's hard to defend the 1990 Captain America, but it's really interesting how at the same time you had over at Carolco, they were trying to develop a Spider-Man movie that James Cameron would have directed, an Iron Man movie that would have starred Tom Cruise as Tony Stark. All of these movies are being developed at the same time, and this is the one that made it. Probably because they could do it the cheapest. And of course, let's also not forget the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which of course has always been theorized as being sort of more of a placeholder to keep the rights with their current owner, so they wouldn't be bought up by another company, so they could do their movies, and it still happened anyway. So, yeah. Well, you know what though? I will defend the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie a bit more than I will the Captain America movie. I think because, granted, that you have the same level of budget, but some of the actors really went for it in the Fantastic Four movie. Like, they were really like, these people were ambitious with their movie. They wanted to really sock this one home. And frankly, I still argue that the Doctor Doom performance in the Roger Corman film is, as currently, until we see how RDJ does in Doomsday, still the best performance on screen of a live action Doctor Doom. So there you go. I'm saying that. Now, going back to one that's definitely good here, I can't believe that the Charles Band let this one not get directed by himself here, but 1991 Full Moon production, Doll Man, starring the great Tim Thomerson and Jackie Earle Haley, 13 Inches with an Attitude. That's right. Old Timmy there is a cop adventurer sort of kind of guy, but he basically gets shrunken, and so he's kind of like he's Ant-Man or the Atom, but he can't get back to normal size. So he goes out and solves crime and does all various sorts of things as Jim Thomerson does. And of course, this is around the same time as you got like all the Scanners movies. So I grew up in basically late 80s, early 90s Tim Thomerson movies. So people could say, oh, this is towards the end of his career, or he was kind of washed up by this time. F that, man, because I grew up on a healthy diet of this stuff and absolutely loved it. So give me more Tim Thomerson. Thank you very, very much. And then a movie I haven't seen in a very long time, and I kind of realized why as I was going through it last night. But let's talk about 1992's Nemesis, starring Oliver Grunier, a French actor, martial artist, kind of. But it's an interesting cyberpunk movie. There's a lot of ambitious concepts. I keep saying the word ambitious, I know. But there's a lot of concepts that this movie is pushing with, man versus machine, what's more, what isn't. And then there's, of course, a lot of, drama and some romance issues as well, because essentially a former lover who's lost her corporal form, but all of her consciousness is downloaded onto a hard drive. Apparently, will help save the world if her consciousness gets downloaded into this supercomputer. But if it does, it kind of essentially strips away her humanity, so she will cease to be, but at the same time also live on. Also, of course, because basically, these people are almost completely replaceable, as meaning they're parts, because of being cyborgs, and adding on more and more things to make them less and less human. When you get in later sequels for Nemesis, the main character of Alex, who Oliver Grenier plays, changes sex. Like, basically the actor goes from Oliver didn't do the other sequels, so they get a different person and they go with a woman. And so it's, of course, she's like a bodybuilder, martial artist herself, kind of in the mode of Cynthia Rathrock. But yeah, so the sequels get kind of interesting, but of course they get very deep, and the budgets get a little worse as they go along. But yeah, so it has its high points, but Nemesis, for a movie that's under 90 minutes, still tends to drag a bit. See, I love Dollman. I love me some old school Tim Thomerson. Scanners, Up the Creek. Oh, not Scanners. Trancers. Sorry, Trancers. And of course, the Jack Death sequels, they follow after that. Up the Creek. Yeah, love that stuff here. Yes, basically, definitely Nemesis reminds me very much more of Shadowrun. It's almost kind of gives us like what we would have had as a Shadowrun movie. But yeah, it's very, very similar to it. I would definitely say so. Yeah, I don't know if Nemesis was the original title for the film or if it was another victim of a name change like Cyborg was. So, yeah, and of course, I think Nemesis actually is, because at the beginning of the movie you get a definition of the word Nemesis. So I would say it is I think it's a popular thing, but it's kind of more of like, what exactly is the Nemesis? So it does pose some questions here, but I don't know if it necessarily does the best job of answering them. And last movie, definitely want to talk about this one here. This one is, I wouldn't say near and dear to my heart, but is definitely an infamous bad movie. Brain Smasher, A Love Story. Yeah. You got Andrew Dice Clay playing some, tough guy. He's got to rescue a supermodel. He's a street tough vigilante who people hire him to do jobs, sort of things like that. And so he's going after the supermodel, who obviously is Terry Hatcher, and they fall in love while he's trying to save her and save the world. Man, this movie, because Clay basically was best known for two films during his heyday career. This one and The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. To say that Ford Fairlane is a cinematic classic standing up next to Brain Smasher is putting it lightly. It's just, it seems like the only person who wanted to be there might have been Andrew. Terry definitely looks bored throughout the movie. It's not a great script. And Dice is just, Dice is great when he's doing his old school stand-up in the 80s. Most of that stuff doesn't age well in 2025, but it was still funny back then. I don't necessarily think that this, Ford Fairlane was a much better use of his talent than this was. So if you really, really want to torture yourself and see a bad movie with some famous people in it, then yeah, definitely check out Brain Smasher. It's a lot of fun. The less sober you go into it, the better. I will say that. Well, but see, now that it's just me here, so I know I am flying through my stuff here, but yeah, it is just me. And of course, my voice is not great here, so that's probably why we're not going to be able to do too long of a show tonight. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Good Lord. But yeah, but still, I love me some B movie directors, especially like I said, the guys who really go for it, kind of just they know what their job is. They get the assignment and just do the best they can with what they've got. Albert was a fine example of that. So definitely, most of his movies are streaming on Tubi for free. Soren the Sorcerer, like I said, I know is finally available on Blu-ray. I've got a copy of Cyborg as well. I know you could purchase Blu-rays of his original cut of Slinger, the director's cut of that, which again I need to go see that myself. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of fun to check out with all those. Make a beer break. Okay. Well, actually, I'm taking a water break again. Gotta take care of the voice here today. Anywho. But this weekend, we have got, for wrestling fans, we have got dual pay-per-views. We can definitely talk about that here in a little bit. Oh, Space Pirates or Ice Pirates, you mean? Or maybe, or you're talking about different movies. But yeah, Ice Pirates, I remember that one with Robert Urich in it. Where basically the guys are trying to avoid being turned into eunuchs. Yikes. But yeah, we got, of course, this weekend, this past Wednesday, AEW presented a 4-hour Fighter Fest. So basically, Dynamite and Collision combined onto one night. If you pay attention to the ratings or listen to the wrestling news sites, whatever else, you can see that basically the ratings dropped hugely for after 10 p.m. because everybody's like, yeah, I'm not staying up for 4 hours, and the Collision stuff's probably not going to pay off anyway. So, but of course, one of the reasons, at least for doing it this weekend, is because Saturday, I believe it's at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure where the other times are. You've got Worlds Collide, which is basically NXT, TNA, and AAA having basically a trio event there. So you basically have representatives from all three companies. And the best part about this is this one's going to be free on YouTube. I know it's going to be on WWE site, AAA site, TNA. So basically, there's multiple places on YouTube you can find this. If you're a wrestling fan, you will not be able to miss this one because it's going to be all over the place here. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing what a WWE version of AAA looks like. With basically, hopefully, I would assume they were going to keep all the traditions of Lucha Libre and everything else, but on the other hand, though, I would like to see a better production value. So that's why I kind of hope that WWE is bringing to it is just better production value, but keeping Lucha Libre. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's also really telling that up until about a week ago, Alberto Del Rio was the AAA Mega Champion, and then last weekend lost that to El Hijo del Vikingo. So thank God we don't have to deal with Alberto Del Rio. Hopefully he is gone and we don't have to see him on any television, because you want to talk about modern day scumbags in wrestling, look no further. So yeah, I got a feeling that was on purpose, that you're going to get this next generation superstar that people are talking about. If you've never seen El Hijo del Vikingo wrestle, we're talking like peak era Rey Mysterio. Just that kind of innovation, speed, size, whatever else. But yeah, the kid's got it. So I'm looking forward to seeing more out of him, and of course whatever else that AAA has to offer. So looking forward to seeing a lot of that. Then of course later in the evening, once that's over, you've got WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So yeah, double pay-per-views on Saturday. So a whole lot of wrestling to check out. I will definitely be over at Manhattan Manor with the boys, watching all the pay-per-views. So yeah, looking forward to that. Well, I got to sell some comics first on Saturday afternoon. So got to do that first, and then I'm going over and watch the pay-per-views from there. So yeah, so I'm very anxious to see what a WWE produced AAA show looks like. So yeah, looking forward to checking that out. Of course, like I said at the top of the show, we've got Ballerina in theaters. I still need to see Mission Impossible. So I've heard good things about Ballerina, though. One of our buddies, one of our regulars in the shop, came in this afternoon after seeing it, gave it high marks. So that's good. Got to talk about Alberto Del Rio here. Alberto can't come back to Mexico. Ouch. Yeah. get those cojones cut and made into a souvenir. Yeah, I hope so, man. Well, and of course, I'm not sure how many American viewers saw this one, but there was basically, I think it was like a daytime talk show or something like that, where Del Rio was promoting the show and basically gets into a big tussle with crew members and whatever else. So whether it's a shoot or whether it was work remains to be seen. It kind of looked like a shoot because it looked like there were some of the crew members were not in on whatever was going on here. So yeah, whether or not anything's going to come of this, I don't know. But again, I'm not a fan of Del Rio personally, or I mean professionally. He is a fine wrestler, but the man himself, the man in the boots, is really not worth praising. So that really kind of takes away from his legacy, I think. Yeah. So anyway, but I honestly I haven't really been paying too terribly much attention for WWE stuff right now, just because there's not a lot going on in wrestling. I mean, let's face facts. We're kind of in a down period. Like, we're in an up period as far as ticket sales for WWE goes, as far as merchandise sales, attendance, all that sort of thing like that. But outside of really kind of the Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, group that's starting to form, really not much going on right now. And even that's kind of like, okay, well, Seth Rollins and some big dudes are hanging out. Okay, maybe it's going to give Braun Breaker a push, or maybe it's going to give Bronson Reed a push, and if they're going to get anybody else in there. But it's like, okay, now what? So yeah, we seem to be kind of, and of course, the less said about AEW's creative, the better. I wish there was somebody who could take over the reins from Tony. Yeah, it's like I appreciate what Tony Khan has done for wrestling by making this company and bringing it out. But dude, I'm sorry, man. It's like your booking is terrible. Most of the time doesn't make sense. It's not consistent from week to week. You push people that don't deserve to be pushed, while other more talented people are sitting in the sidelines or have been forgotten about that you even work for you. It's time to give up the reins, Tony, of the creative control, at least, to somebody that knows what they're doing. Maybe you have a committee, be part of the committee, but I'm just, it's the same thing over and over again. It's the same finishes, constant, BS interference, a champion no one likes or wants there. I mean, even Seth, who is a hardcore Jon Moxley fan, is tired of Jon Moxley being world champion, and he needs to go away for a little bit. I mean, not forever, just, go away so we can miss him a little bit. But, oh, hang on. A text from Seth. And, he's not making it tonight. Okay. Anyway, well, he was some kind of big update he had to have, and he had to reboot his system from, I don't know. Anyway, it was, basically, he is taking him over an hour just to get a 56% loading. So bless his heart. So that's okay. Like I said, with my voice kind of going in and out all week here, I could probably use for a shorter show here. So I do apologize for cutting a little shorter than usual, guys. But I'm nursing my throat. I'm an old man now here. I need water. Anywho, so I hope you guys have a great weekend out there. Definitely, if you guys haven't need to see Mission Impossible, Ballerina, Predator, Killer of Killers, check those out. Let me know what you guys think next week here. I'm definitely going to check out Killer of Killers myself, and at least one of those movies, hopefully this weekend, because I don't have too terribly much going on for my days off, I don't think. Hope not. Anywho, and we will definitely be back with you guys next week here with a full episode and also with Seth as well. So you guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Thank you all for tuning in to the Fanatic Forum. Don't forget to like and share with your friends, your neighbors, even people you don't like. Everybody's welcome. All geeks from all colors and creeds and orientations and whatever else there. So yes, everybody is welcome here at the Place for Geeks, the Fanatic Forum. Hey, thank you, V. You too, chick hair, brother. Hope we will talk soon, sir. Yes, sir. Anywho, You all have yourselves an excellent evening, and we'll see you next time on the Fanatic Forum. Bye-bye.
My name is Mark Weiss, and I am the founder and president of an organization called Comic Books for Kids. 6 years ago this month, we embarked on a journey of passion and heart. Our goal was to make a difference for children in hospitals and cancer centers. Little could we have ever imagined the response we have now. Starting with just hopes and dreams, we had no money for our mission. We had no product to give to the hospitals, and we had only called a couple hospitals and asked them, if we were to provide you with comic books, would you be interested? And they said yes. So we embarked on a 1-year journey to make a difference for these kids. We realized that even though we can't take away the reason these children are in hospitals, we can perhaps, while they are there, let them fly like a superhero, be princes and princesses, and embark on a mystical and magical journey to take them away from where they are in that hospital bed. Today, and thanks to your support, we are thrilled to say that we are now the largest charity in the U.S., supporting well over 200 hospitals in all 50 states for not only comic books, but for other pop culture items like Funko Pops, action figures, coloring books, Spanish bilingual items, backpacks, and more. When we received materials that were inappropriate for the young ones, we started a sister charity called Comic Book for Troops, and overnight, we became the largest charity in the U.S. for these same items to all branches of the military. We want to thank our friends for providing us their support and for allowing us the means to make so many happy with their gracious give to us.